Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Now, today I want to talk about this full moon coming up in Aries. I was going to actually put it off until tomorrow, thinking that the 29th would be sufficient, but it's actually happening kind of like late night, early morning on the 29th at about 5:57 Eastern time for me. So by time tomorrow when I actually begin to record, we'll already be well within the energies. And it's a pretty intense one, so I kind of want to get a little bit ahead of the game if I can. So I am going to timestamp. It's not going to be a long message, and I'm going to do a reading after. I will timestamp the two more or less, but it is going to be a very specific reading in connection to the full moon energies and the vibration of as above, so below. So as you see, I have my newer cards and my older cards here because that's the energy of the reading I'm going to do after. So I invite you to definitely listen through the message. I think it's important enough information for you to kind of guide your starship accordingly. However, definitely tune in or skip ahead to the reading as you feel guided to. No love lost whatsoever, okay? All right, so full moon in Aries as of 9/29/23 at 5:57, again, Eastern time. This is a harvest moon, and it's also the first moon of the fall. Also, it's the fourth and final supermoon of the year. So this is yet another supermoon, which is one of the reasons why it's so impactful, just one of the aspects. Just as I suspected yesterday when I kind of prefaced that I was going to be talking about the full moon soon, it occurred to me that it was going to be in Aries, and I immediately realized the contrast of those frequencies. Aries being a power forward sign, full moon usually being a regressive frequency. There's already a conflict of interest there. So as I suspected, this transit is going to have an intense charge. First, there's the fact that Aries is a powerful sign that incites an ambition to take action towards self-improvement and or progression. However, there may be a lack of motivation to actually do so in full moon frequencies, which generally incite rest, regeneration, and release. So you might have the mind to keep powering through with, say, even the ambitions of the last new moon transit, or to start something altogether new, but you may be met with some resistance energetically, both internally and perhaps even externally as well. Yet another added layer to this is the transit of the planets on the north and the south nodes. Now, to kind of like sum it up more or less, if you don't know, the north and south nodes are their specific alignments in your own life. So you have your own midhaven or your north node, which the polar opposite of that sign would then be your south node. For instance, my north node is Cancer, so my south node is Capricorn, personally. Now, universally, what we're experiencing is that the north node right now is in Aries. The south node, meaning its opposite sign, is in Libra, right? I'm gonna get to how this pertains to this moon specifically in just a second, but just for anybody that's not aware of this concept, just plainly stated, very primitively stated, as a matter of fact, your north node is ultimately, well, let's say your south node first is like what kind of comes natural to you, what even is like your innate abilities or gifts, or even deeper thinking, the aspect of you from a past life experience. But in this regard, in this lifetime, it's about the essence of you that comes naturally, but in a sense, also may be something that you may feel inspired to move away from, to ultimately expand your breadth of life in this lifetime to whatever that higher calling is. That being your opposite, the south, right? I hope I explained that well enough. Your north node, that north star, is what you aspire to. So it's ultimately that destiny that life is calling you to, that higher expression of self that is ultimately a stark comparison from who you would be most complacently, who you're comfortable being, perhaps, but also even what you've expressed in past life cycles. It's a new evolution or evolving exaltation, even ascension, essentially, in your spiritual nature. It takes a little bit more effort, sometimes a bit more healing from that South Node experience to ultimately transcend to that level, but it's not altogether foreign either. Usually your life is cueing you to those signals and signposts as to where you should be headed. The vibration that your life, the frequency that your life is flowing to. But sometimes, of course, we get complacent in what feels comfortable and what is, what's more well known. And sometimes we stay in that lower nature. So those are the two differences, right? So I encourage you for sure to kind of get an idea from your birth chart as to what your South Node and North Node, well, particularly your North Node, and then you'll know what your South Node is. But as it pertains to this transit, the planets on the North Node and South Nodes are what are making all the difference and causing the intensity that we may experience. The moon, as it is full, is in the sign of Aries. We've already determined that, right? Aries is the North Node. Destiny, what we are ultimately aspiring to align with. That means that the South Node is what? Libra, is polar opposite. But the interesting thing is that Mars, and this could get a little bit confusing, but Mars is actually in Venus at this time in the South Node. Now that's the contrast, because Mars, although the moon is in Aries, Mars being in the South Node is Aries' ruling planet. So basically, it's on the polar opposite of where it would be most comfortable and at home and at peace, right? Now, if that's confusing to follow, the takeaway of how it ultimately may apply to you is that emotionally and energetically, you may feel pulled in two different directions, okay? And this challenge to ultimately create personal balance could be a cocktail for frustration or fury at its worst without some fortitude, which is why I thought it was important for me to talk about this today. Because these transits may hit you in ways that you're not really prepared to balance yourself to receive if you're not particularly into the cycles of the moon and what's going on cosmically and this and that. I'm here to just give a perspective of how you can engage these transits, because as above, so below, they're speaking through us and to us, and definitely impacting us directly. We are the universe, if you can believe that. So I'm going to stick with what I'm saying, but I'm going to double back in a second about this contrast between Venus and Aries, because something right before I push record occurred to me. So the proactive prescription that I have to offer is extreme self-care. Take care of you as any good Aries could show you to do. Now, what I will say is that sometimes Aries can be like exclusively self-centered in a sense where they're so ambitious, that sign, not every Aries, but the essence of that sign being the first sign in the zodiac and just uninhibitedly, powering forward as a cardinal sign to just conquer whatever is in its path. Sometimes that level of aggression and ambition can be self-defeating when the transit really isn't set up for you to go, go, go. Again, considering this is a full moon, not a new moon, where that type of energy would be welcomed and greatly supported, right? And then all the other stuff I said about the North and South Node is the added icing on the cake. So yes, certainly take care of yourself and invest that energy into yourself, but be mindful not to do it in a way where you're almost, you're almost railroading the possibilities as they are. Like you're so insistent and ambitious to move forward in whatever way you set out to do so, that you won't take no for an answer and you won't relent to any resistance whatsoever. You could actually kind of hurt yourself, even if it's just energetically, so just burning yourself out, trying to power ahead into things that are just not in alignment to be moved forward on at this time, when really the operative word. That was weird. I just heard, I think I just heard a voice through my smoke detector in the other room. Okay. The operative word, that was really weird. The operative word is rest at this time. That doesn't mean stop, complete stop, as I always like to say, but if you're experiencing a certain level of resistance, you kind of have to be open to relenting to that resistance in some way, shape, or form. My suggestion is to be focused on in full moon fair, release, release, release. And with the energy of Aries in this mix, affirm, affirm, affirm. I just heard the beep again. I don't know if you heard it. Release yourself from potentially triggering people, places, and things. For instance, if you know that a particular person, because I should backtrack and say that, and I was probably going to say more of this in what I have to say after, but Aries is a dynamic planet. It can be very furious. I mean, it's ruled by Mars, which is the planet of war, so it's very explanatory in that regard. No more needs to be said. So there can sometimes they can be quick to anger, not all Aries, of course, but that sign is just prone, like it wants to smoke, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's almost like they're so ambitious and such warriors in their own regard that sometimes they can almost put themselves in positions for the sake of the smoke, you know what I mean? Like aligning themselves with on the war path. Not a good idea to do that right now, not with people, places, or things. So if there are people that get on your nerves with this planet and these energies being in the position that they're in right now, you might want to try to limit your exposure to those trigger points. If you know there's a particular place, for instance, maybe you don't want to go shopping at the height of traffic and congestion, or at the height time on a Sunday evening when everybody's out and about, or Sunday afternoon when people are out and about doing their shopping for the week. Maybe you don't want to put yourself in that position when you could have a short fuse to go off. You know what I mean? You reaching for the rice and somebody's reaching for the pasta or whatever, and y'all bump arms, and then all of a sudden it's an all-out war. Like, it's funny, but it's not funny. So just be mindful be very intentional about where you go and even the things that you do. For instance, like if there are particular habits or behaviors that lower your vibration, i.e. drinking or recreational drugs, or even eating certain foods perhaps that don't necessarily attribute to you at your highest vibe. You just want to be conscious of literally taking care of yourself in every way, shape, and form. Being holistically mindful about you as an Aries is prone to do, but in a way that is protective and proactive, So anyway, so affirm. What I also suggest is that for the affirming piece, that you affirm the intentions of your ambitions through things like mantras or visualization, manifestation, meditations, right? Now, this may ground anxiety, and satisfy creative eagerness, where right now physical progress might feel a bit suppressed. So ultimately, I'm saying, like, in that spirit of wanting to go and push forward and power ahead and conquer and maybe start something new or do something new, or whatever, continue on even with whatever you were working on. You may have gotten great progress just based off of the last new moon transit, and you want to keep powering forward. If you're meeting a particular feat of resistance, just if and you feel like you can't get past it, or even if internally, like I said, this is an internal external situation, even if internally you're feeling a little bit defeated and don't quite have the motivation that your mind wants to have to actually get something done, don't underestimate the power of affirmations. First of all, that's a good way to just take care of self day to day, to be balanced and grounded for the intentions you want to set for the day, so that no matter what comes your way, you've already set the foundation. But in the instance of specific things where you have a plan or a manifestation in mind, or you're working on something and you may feel like at a bit of a standstill, just go into that space of meditation or even thoughtfulness, mindfulness, visualization, seeing the end result, not fixated on where you feel stuck or where you intend to go but you can't get there, or how far behind you feel on account of this, this setback. Just see the end and put yourself in the feeling of what the end would ultimately bring, that completion, that satisfaction, that spirit of success. That is not a space to be underestimated, because we project anyway. We produce from our projections anyway. So if you're feeling a frustration on account of resistance, that's just natural because of the space and time that we're in. You're only going to ultimately produce more frustration, because if it's not meant for you to move forward on whatever that thing is, it's not going to budge, and you're just going to ultimately exhaust your energy when it could have been invested otherwise just on taking care of yourself until you get the green light to move forward energetically, Okay, so let's see, this may be, it's grounded for your anxiety and for creative eagerness. I said that. Invest your energy into activities that help enhance your mood and self-esteem. Ultimately, taking care of you is the most powerful position of action right now, believe it or not. Also, keep in mind that we're all riding this cosmic wave together, so have some grace, some understanding that, like I said, sometimes Aries can be very centrically focused, a little self-centered, and I'm talking about the spirit of, not the people. I have to keep saying that because I don't want no smoke, Aries. I don't want it. But, take care of yourself for sure, but just be mindful that you're not the only one that's riding this wave. It could be a little bit rough for everybody, or just challenging. I don't want to say rough because it's not really that, but it's just a challenge. And or maybe not for some, but generally speaking, I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war within self that you get to have grace for yourself with and grace for others. It's best to go with the flow than to try to rage against it. Temperance is key. No worries, you'll be ready and rejuvenated to conquer the world before you know it. So just as soon as you are as you surrender to the cosmic flow as it is as soon as you'll act and invest that energy inward, by the way. Before you know it, it's like meditation. When you really get deep into yourself, before you know it, a whole hour has passed. You're like, oh, damn, I've been sitting here for an hour. Just allow this time to be rejuvenated and regenerated. Know that whatever you're manifesting, whatever you were manifesting, whatever you're expecting for is not going anywhere. It's still going to be exactly where you left off, maybe even better off, because you're internally producing the outcome that maybe perhaps the doing and the productivity, that process couldn't do. Internally is much more powerful than anything. So before I get into reading, I just want to, and it's not going to be a long reading either, I don't think, but I didn't even expect to talk this long in regards to the moon, but something occurred to me regarding this Venus and Aries North Node that's kind of, I guess, related to what I've already expressed, but I felt it differently just before I was about to record. So we know, like I said, that Venus, that Aries is the planet of war and rage, and Venus is more or less the planet of harmony and balance, right? So what I was getting is that these two polar opposites here, aside from the implications of what we may be considering to be impacted by globally, I don't think I'm going to go there today, but there's that. But internally, the contrast of those energies to me speak to there being a time for war and a time for peace. And generally speaking, like, okay, I'll tell you the story first and then I'll see if that helps me convey it better. So right before I was about to record, I was all set up, ready to go. And down comes this little spider walking down the wall. Now, I didn't want to be distracted by his ass, so I decided I was going to take my little napkin. And at first, I was very intentional about killing his ass. And then just before I was about to, I was even patient to wait for him to come all the way down the wall. And just before I was about to swipe him up, something kept me from crushing it. And I was like, I'll just put him outside. You know, I was going to open the window and put him outside. But I guess I left the napkin open just a little bit too much because I went from being more aggressive to being more passive. And then he got out the napkin and started crawling on my arm. So I had to shake him off my arm, okay? Follow me here. So he didn't get far, obviously. So I got the napkin, I picked his ass up again, and I still didn't kill him, but I held him a little bit more tightly while I opened the window and then put him out. But then wouldn't you know it, that as I'm trying to open the screen, I scratched my damn nail, trying to be nice and trying to be, diplomatic to this damn spider who don't belong in here anyway. I scratched the paint on my nail, and it was a little bit rusted from the screen because it's been raining and stuff, so the screen is like a little bit icky, but I was able to get a little bit of rust off, but I can definitely tell that it bruised some of the paint. So, I mean, I was going to put another coat of paint on anyway, but the fact of the matter is, I was trying to be diplomatic. I was trying to be nice. I didn't want to crush it with all my might. Oh, it's a little spider. It's not going to do any harm. Let me just see his ass out into nature where he belongs. And then I ended up ultimately taking the brunt of my benevolence. As they say sometimes, no good deed goes unpunished. I don't know if I believe that holistically, but in this regard, I definitely got a bit bruised on my nail. So all that to say is that this contrast with Libra and Aries and the North Node, and the South Node and the North Node, or whatever, I definitely feel it in my spirit personally, because I have a lot of Libra energy in my chart. My moon and my rising are both in Libra. I have Pluto in Libra. I think my Venus is in Sag, which, Sag expands everything. So I have a lot of Venus energy, a lot of Libra energy. And sometimes I definitely have and still do veer off into that wanting everything to be peaceful and balanced and harmonious and fair, and not wanting to hurt anyone, and wanting everybody to have a shot and everybody to have what they desire. And sometimes even as that Libra sign can be, to the detriment of my own comfort or satisfaction, let alone security and stability. I believe that a lot of what this transit is doing, especially in the intensity that it's creating, is really causing us to balance that self-sacrificing sensation within us all. Some of us more than others, because some of us is not that hard, like I said, to do you and not give a damn about anybody else. But generally speaking, even by societal standards, sometimes we kind of curve our enthusiasm for the sake of being acceptable to others, or we may not say all that we feel because we don't want to ruffle any feathers. And it may be our own truth, it may be our organic expression of life, but we hold back in some regard for the sake of harmony and balance and really not rocking the boat. I feel like this transit with the moon and the south and north node are like a final purge of our patronage of even ourselves, if that makes sense, where we're really being called to be holistically authentic and, in a balanced way, not to be reckless and abandon the ideal of care for anyone else, but as I was saying before, like to really make sure that you're taking care of you and realizing that that's the most powerful force of action and course of action that you can have. We spend so much more time worrying about what everybody else is doing, what everybody else has to say, measuring ourselves by others' success, comparing and contrasting, our progression or lack thereof, from left to right, and considering what even those that we care about or those that seem to present themselves to care about us have to say or impress upon us as far as what is true and valuable for our lives. And ultimately, it all needs to be stripped down, even the dissension within yourself, that conflict between knowing when you need to stand up for yourself and be a champion and a warrior for your own cause, and when sometimes it is okay to be diplomatic. There is a balance for sure, but I feel for the most part, we walk around in some imbalance in one way, shape, or another, usually based on our life experiences and however we idealize peace and harmony and war and justice in our lives, because that's also Libra sign is about justice. So all that to say is you matter first, period. Even if you have children, if you have a family, if you have obligations that are, take high precedence in your life, you still are the centric force in all of it. And if you're not operating well and whole and complete and vital in the sense where your ambitions are well supported by yourself, it really is hard for you to be of value, let alone of any powerful force or source for or to anyone else outside of you. So there's that. So there may be a little bit of an intensity with this balancing act, but I assure you that it's happening for you and not to you. And if you're willing to ride the wave and just stay with yourself, stay grounded, stay focused on what the end result shall be, believing it already is, even if it is a more evolved you. Maybe it's not anything specifically outside of you, but just knowing that you are well, no matter how intense the transit may feel at times, if it even does. I'm speaking based on what the planets are speaking to, but perhaps you won't experience it that way. So I prayed to give this message in a way that would be empowering, not in a way that would make you feel, eager or anxious about the experience, because it's just strengthening ultimately, and given that this is harvest season, consider harvest time is, it's a time where you actually work to reap those crops, so it's like you harvesting the best of you. It's not like you just sit back and the crops get pulled out the ground and picked and scooped up and, washed off and whatever you do on a farm. I hope to own one day, or a garden. But, there's a bit of work that gets to be done. I think now it's more of an energetic harvest of our true divine nature, whatever that may be specifically to you, and that balance that you get to create on account of what you discover. But the intensity itself is what is what ultimately is what am I trying to say? The intensity of this transit is like the labor, you know what I mean? Like it is the labor. So there's nothing outside of yourself that you need to be fearful or anxious about. This is an internal harvesting. You really just digging up the best of you, so that when it's time, you know, you're in your best fighting stance, you know, as an Aries warrior would be, and you're in the greatest position to ultimately champion your own unique purpose and cause. Okay? So anyway, so that's it. Thank you for listening. I definitely didn't mean to be that long, so that means this message may be a little bit more extended than I anticipated. But now I'm ready to do the full moon in Aries reading. Now, this is the full moon in Aries reading in which I'm going to do an as above, so below vibration. Shout out to the ghetto nun who used to do readings like this. I haven't seen one in a while, but I know this used to be one of the different types of readings she would do. And I have done this before, but I don't think I've ever done it on this channel. And the reason why, obviously, I'm sure it makes sense now that I feel guided to do it this way is because of this North Node, South Node contrast that we're going to be experiencing through this transit. So what I'm going to, use the newer cards for is what we're aspiring to be, do, or have by way of the transit. And my older cards, which you can clearly see are taped up and, you know, a mess. My older cards are the South Node, this South Node message of what we may be inspired to release during this transit or to, you know, ultimately evolve from in some way, shape, or form. All right, so the incense is still going strong. I'm going to get a few cards out. Well, I mean, I have cut these cards hella times, so, and I'm not even turning them over, so we don't have to worry about whether or not I justifiably, you know, don't know what's going on, right? I don't even know why I subscribe to that, but I guess I do since people are still getting to know me, which, by the way, welcome to any new subscribers. Thank you to current subscribers that keep on coming back. We are still growing, and I am still looking forward to that 100 subscribers giveaway. So help me get there if you will by liking, commenting, sharing if you feel guided to, and definitely if you haven't yet, please do subscribe. All right, so we got the Four of Swords, the Three of Cups. I'm already seeing rest and celebration. Okay, power move or mover and shaker by way of the King of Wands. I want to get at least 5. That's way too many. Oh, jeez, I'm having trouble today. That's way too many. Too many. I'm trying to keep it cute, Spirit, please. Can I just get 2 more if possible, maybe 3 at best? All right, Temperance. Definitely said temperance is key. Didn't I? Yes, I did. I'm not gonna have, I don't think I'm gonna have to elaborate on this much at all. Can't wait to see what says below. All right, we got 2 and I'm done. Nice, nice. So we'll do 6 below if possible. That's Temperance, the Queen of Cups, and the Ace of Swords. No, it's gonna be hard for me to make these straight. They may be a little bit off balance today, but I'm sure you're not nearly as obsessed as I am. All right, so that's that, and I probably will turn over the top and the bottom when I get to the end. All right. As below, this is what we get. Interesting. Should I take that? No, I'm take it. Oh, I guess so. Say yes, you are. All right, so there's that. So we got the Empress. I'm sorry, the 10 of Cups, the Magician, the 2 of Wands, the 3 of Cups again. Interesting. And one more. That one? Yep, that's one. Bam. All right, and that's the 9 of Cups. All right, so let's see here. It's crazy how much thicker these cards are. Same number of cards. Okay, so let me get a quick little second to digest this. Well, the as above isn't really that hard for me. As below was interesting, but as above, here's that rest and rejuvenation that I've been talking about pretty much this whole time. That you get to surrender to rest. This is like voluntarily not allowing your mind to be. Well, there's two folds. Either you had to sit down because you've exhausted yourself emotionally or mentally, more so with the sword energy, or you are relenting to rest or surrendering to some state of meditation for rejuvenation purposes or regeneration purposes, where it's like you resolve that there's not much you can do in this moment, or there's not much more to be done. So you allow yourself to be in a state of rest until there's either, again, some regeneration for forward movement or some open door, or whatever the green light may be. This is someone that is going to rest until it is so. Now we got the 3 of Cups, which to me speaks to the spirit in which you get to cultivate while you're riding the wave. The spirit of celebration that I was talking about, where you just see the end result. You cultivate the celebration, the joy, the spirit of success, accomplishment, whatever it is you're working on or whatever you aspire to do, or have, it's already done in your spirit as far as you're concerned. And this is the energy that you project and that you're intentional about about ultimately indulging yourself in. That's not what I want. Submerging yourself in is what I want to say. And also being around other people, like I said, that add to that high vibration. Going around people that are going to encourage you to be in a good mood, to be joyful, to be your best self, that bring you peace in some regard, that make you happy to be around, that is a good time, that's fun, that are in support of who you are authentically. And by way of the meditation piece, maybe you don't have this energy in real life. This is how you can create that vibration through meditation, through affirmations, through what's the other word? Prayer, even, through prayer, through visualization. This is you seeing that result no matter what's going on around you. And the King of Wands is somebody that's always sitting on ready. You know what I mean? Like and it also is, well, no, it's more Leo energy, right? Yeah, it's not so much. I mean, it could be any of the fire signs, but certainly it's representative here of fire energy, which is Aries, Sagittarius, and what am I missing this? Aries, Sag, and what's my other fire sign? Oh my God, I feel so bad. It'll come to me in a second. I'm just tripping right now. But the King of Wands definitely is someone that sits in that space of readiness, prepared for the best and the worst, that at a moment's notice, he'll get up off that throne and go do whatever needs to be done. You know what I mean? What's the middle sign of, oh, Leo, duh, I already said that. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. So, and there's a cultivation of confidence too, so that even when he's sitting, you know, as he is on this throne now, maybe it appears that he's not doing much, that inner confidence that he is cultivating and the ambition that's just stewing within him, maybe perhaps even strategizing on how he's going to move forward, is going to make his action that much more that much more like targeted, if that makes sense. It doesn't, because that's not the word that I mean to say, but like, you know, like Sagittarius, for instance, the archer, you know, they're focused, they generally, you know, the ones with the bow and the arrow, when they shoot, they ultimately don't miss, you know, most of the time. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But generally, even if the rest of the world thinks they're missing, for them it's some type of win. Let's put it that way, okay? Get you a Sagittarius in your life. But yeah, that's the energy of the King of Wands, that perhaps it may feel like you're missing out, even because that's also fire energy. They can feel like they're missing out on something. He is looking on the outside in, right? Feel like you're missing out when you're looking at the rest of the world, or even looking at your own intentions of moving forward and where you intended to be at this point in time, or whatever the ambition was. And perhaps there could be the resistance or a short stop in some regard. It doesn't mean that you lost anything. You don't lose any momentum. You're just powering up, getting ready to go, keeping your mind on your eye on the prize, your mind focused on the most high vibrational outcome, so that when it is time to take action, you're ready to go. You don't even have to think about it. You already know exactly what you want to do, you know? And temperance, again, Sagittarius energy for sure, with that is just keeping in balance. And patience is the operative word with temperance. This is what we're aspiring to throughout this transit. Patience, alchemizing that emotional force, those two cups going back and forth, where, you know, you may be feeling some anxiety or eagerness to do something, but yet there's still some resistance, even internally, so by way of a lack of motivation because of the moon, you know, to allow yourself to balance out those energies, make the most of them, ultimately make it into something productive and not limiting, is what the temperance energy is here for. And stay patient, you know, be patient with yourself and be patient with others. The Queen of Cups is here by way of ultimately not only, how can I say it, like she's able to see beyond what is right in front of her. So she takes this energy that's been tempered ultimately, and she can look into it to make sense of how it gets to apply to her well-being, you know, how it gets to ultimately be like life fuel force for her. Is it something that, is there a call to action by way of the Ace of Wands? Is there something that needs to be changed, to be shifted based on how, you know, consider how this transit is making you feel. You know, it's not for nothing. So perhaps whatever those resistances may be, or even impulses may be, because in some regards, like I said, we have the Aries energy, which is making you feel impulsive or compulsive, more impulsive to do something. Consider all of that, all the emotional intel, the spiritual intel that you're getting at this time, and make sense of it. Sit with it. Allow yourself to become one with it. See, literally, as the Queen of Cups is looking into that cup, it's almost a reflection. Water is reflective, right? Emotions are reflective. They tell you more about you than perhaps you even can experience of yourself in any other regard. You know, how you're feeling, and not even just about you, even about your surroundings, you know. So that reflective force of water is helping to give you, you know, high valued intel as to how you get to move forward in that King of Wands position when it's time to power ahead, whether it be through this transit or post this transit, you know, whatever the forward march gets to be, literally forward march with King of Wands, it's going to be something that's now powered by source and with force, because you've allowed yourself to more or less like analyze. It's not really analytics though with the Queen of Cups. I'm trying to find a word for it. Synthesize, for some reason I'm hearing that, like synthesize your emotions. I have to look up that word and see why that's coming up. Maybe you should too. But yeah, like to really, because it's more of a sensation with the Queen of Cups, more than it is cerebral or intellectual. There is emotional intelligence, so yes, you do make sense of what you feel ultimately in the highest vibration, but not sometimes there's not much sense to make, you know, in a practical way. Sometimes it's just a matter of I feel this and I feel incited to do this on account of it. You know, that sensational impulse that is not erratic though. That's not what this is, especially not with the Temperance card here, which means that you've sat with some balancing of your emotions. You've been intentional about creating balance and being able to actually I can't find the word, it's so hard, but being able to like extract what the experience of those emotions when it all boils down to that one cup that she's holding herself. And then, like I said, this is like an exalted position of power with the Ace of Wands. This is not somebody that's just jumping off the handle off of any emotion, you know, that's just doing whatever her passion incites her to do. She feels sad, so she's gonna go tear up some stuff, or you know, eat a whole pint of ice cream, you know, or go, you know, I don't know. She feels anxious, so she's going to go hook up with somebody, you know, that will sensationalize her anxiety, if you know what I mean, with the Ace of Wands. You know, it's not somebody that is frustrated, so they take out their anger on whomever is closest to them. You know, this is someone that knows how to be self-contained, that considers not only how her emotional energy is a life force unto her, you know, that it literally is the power behind your actions, but that it also makes a great impact on your surroundings. So this is all good up here. That really does sum up most of what I said in the message, which is awesome. Thank you, Spirit, for that. Now, in terms of this South Node energy, it's interesting because we got the Empress, the Empress, the Ten of Cups, the Magician, okay, the Two of Wands, the Three of Cups again, and then the Nine of Cups. Okay, so the Empress, all right, so I'm going to see it as the contrast, where there's a call to rest, right? But the Empress is one that wants to be highly productive and wants to take charge, you know, so she's not used to being told no. Let's put, and matter of fact, Empress is Libra energy, which we identified is what? Oh yeah, duh, in the South Node. So that makes a lot of sense. Now I get it, Spirit. So there also is a certain diplomacy that the Empress has, because innately she's like a mother figure. So she wants to nurture, she wants to, you know, love on everybody, make sure everybody's taken care of. But in the contrast for sure here is between someone that is willing to have a seat and someone that is persistently productive. No matter what the circumstances are, she always expects there to be some productivity in some regard, is how I'm reading it now. So this is something that we may need to release a bit of a control over our circumstances and over how it gets to produce. Not you can control on your mental state now, your visualizations, your affirmations, your intentions. You are still in control of all of that, but you may not holistically be in control of your surroundings at this time or through this transit. Then we got the the Ten of Cups, which to me is giving family vibes here. But you know what? Ten of Cups can also be soul family too. So it doesn't have to be like traditional, conventional family. This is ultimately what I was saying, I was speaking to as well, where you subject yourself to the projections of those that you love or value, or those that, project to love or value you, on account of keeping harmony and peace, which is definitely what this Ten of Cups is giving me. It's don't get no more harmonious than that. You want to have happy family, everybody's awesome, all is well. Sometimes you definitely don't want to be the one to disturb the peace in any way. So at times it can come with sacrificing your true desires, or forfeiting some some point of fortitude for yourself on account of what you feel is an expectation on your life. So I'm sensing this Ten of Cups more so as maybe releasing yourself from being afraid to disturb the peace for your own good at times. And then we got the Magician card here, which in this regard, I'm getting more of someone that can be manipulative, but not in the most diabolical sense. This is somebody that, again, is intentional about molding a specific outcome, very hands-on in a material sense to create a desire, or to create some end result. The King of Wands is sitting ready for when action gets to be taken. The Magician is always working. That's the vibe that I'm getting. And as it's been said, you may not be able to necessarily manhandle your results at this time, even as proficient and skilled as you may be to do so, maybe even authorized in some regard to do so. But and you know what, I'm also hearing, because as I like to say, like with the Magician card, it's a stark difference between manifestation and manipulation. And it's it's a thin line between the two, but a big difference. Sometimes, even in the most harmless sense, you may this is an example of you overdoing it, burning yourself out for some outcome that is just not time to make a move on. So where you're receiving the resistance, and as I said, you have the power to actually make a change or force an outcome, you may be going against the grain unjustifiably, and maybe even perhaps in the laws of nature. How about it? Because we can take this in a very fantastical sense to mean like, dark magic or again, dark manipulation for some personal gratification, whereas it may not necessarily be harmful, holistically so, but it's not justified, and it's definitely not in alignment with the flow of universal order. So in some regard, you still do end up with getting your hands a little bit dirty, or just really overplaying your hand is what I hear, because you're moving out of alignment, out of divine alignment. So even if you do have the skills to to make some things shake, in a way that if it ultimately, there's nothing against, because the King of Wands got magical skills too. He's an ethereal being as well, of all the kings, but it's just a matter of divine timing. There still are spiritual laws that we get to answer to and work within that empower us to ultimately manifest and create and magnetize the best results, so that nobody gets hurt. No part of creation or our creativity is bruised. All right, so then we got the Two of Wands, which to me is definitely about the the choices that we get to make on that road ultimately. Like look at this here. He's choosing this wand that's closest to the Magician, in which I just gave the disparity of that aspect. So it's about choosing the higher road, or in this case, with it being the South Node, being mindful not to have a small world view and only choosing the outcome that you can only see directly affects you, or that's going to be most immediately gratifying for the results you're trying to create. With the Two of Wands here is definitely a matter of choosing wisely and this being an action behind your choices. So definitely next to the Magician card, it's a caution not to outwork yourself, not to outsmart yourself and not to outwork yourself, to allow the universe to balance the flow accordingly. With the Temperance card, be patient. Don't be quick to make an assumption or make a decision or take action that is not ultimately going to be, holistically beneficial to your cause, that might end up being more of a burden than it is a blessing in the end, ultimately. Now, with the Three of Cups here, in contrast to the Queen, so we had the Ten of Cups here with the 3 on top as an aspiration. Maybe this is here just getting mixed up with the wrong crowd and not listening to your own intuition. That's what it is. This is about family, and even those that, when you talk about soul family, it's even being impressionable by or influenced by people that seem to have your best interest. This is giving me vibes of people that may actually not have your best interest. With the Three of Cups, this is like third party situations, which ultimately can have a bit of a negative connotation in essence. 3 is a crowd, triangle type situations, where that type of vibration might be an infraction on someone such as the Queen of Cups, who is, as I've said, self-contained and assured in what she feels. So mixing up with vibrations that, first of all, are more codependent. First, this is what this is giving me, the Three of Cups. More codependent on community may be an influence on your independence that almost like taints your intelligence, if that makes sense. Like taking in too many opinions or exposing yourself to too many mysterious vibrations of spiritual force. Like you can't verify what cup they're drinking of or what they're toasting. The Queen of Cups cup is pure. It's the Holy Grail. It's been tried and true. It's been filtered, by the Holy Spirit, so to say. This is energy that's more or less been very susceptible to societal standards that may vie for societal acceptance and community, in the sense that can more or less, unpurify spirit. And it does, like I said, doesn't make them bad per se, but when you're living like a sanctified life, so to speak, you're set apart from societal norms, and you continue to kind of thrust yourselves into the exposure or to be vulnerable to energies that are the very opposite, that do care what other people think, that kind of do operate off of what incites them emotionally to do so. These are individuals that may or may not be emotionally impulsive, because they're a little bit more susceptible to the way of the world or society as it is, whereas the Queen of Cups is willing to be independent, willing to kind of, do her own thing and maybe even look a little bit strange for it. The release is feeling like you have to be one in the number when you are number one, period. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be validated, affirmed, supported even by anything outside of yourself. You and the spirit that you submit to internally and otherwise is sustainable enough. So this is this is the South Node energy that we're kind of moving away from. And it's at the same time, the Three of Cups is here because it's about, especially above soul family, it's probably saying that who you thought was your soul family or even your real family is getting smaller than what you originally thought, going from the 10 to the 3. So that's why these two are here existing on these two different planes, because it's about purifying your partnerships and your support systems, and it's off by way of what? Internal projection. So if you're feeling like you need more support, or you need more of a team, or you want to be more understood, or you need some affirmation of the value that's already been confirmed to you, that's where the dissension comes in, because you don't need that in actuality. But when you do have it and it's in the vibration that is in a divine alignment with you, it can add value. But the same energy on a different node, literally on a different frequency, can be more of a detriment than it can be a help or support. Okay. And then we got the Nine of Cups, which for me, absolutely, especially under the Ace of Wands, is about overindulgence. It's about needing too much to feel satisfied, by way of things that could ultimately, pardon me, be empty, because these cups we don't know what's in those cups, but they have some value to him, or sometimes I even see them as trophies, needing too many accomplishments, needing too many accolades, too many physical projections of our success or our worth or our measure, wanting there to be something to show for our accomplishments, and for it to be in the highest vibration, for it to be a personal exchange of reward, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you almost need that in order to feel validated and to feel important, that ultimately can lead you into this inflated sense of power by way of the Ace of Wands, where the ego is running the show ultimately. And if you don't have these accomplishments, these accolades, these trophies, so to speak, to show for your level of importance or position or power, you don't feel validated. You actually feel powerless. When the true source of your power, as it is above, comes from the Most High, and it's something that's fueled, literally an ignited in this Ace of Wands fire energy from the inside out. So what these cups can actually do is put that fire out, because you're needing to drink up, you're indulging too much on outside satisfaction, sensational satisfaction, than you are on just the internal, natural, organic nature of you as ordained by spirit, So as below, releasing overindulgence, even over saturating ourselves in sensational satisfaction to the point where perhaps we even get drunk on our own power. And in contrast to the Ace of Wands, we're ascending to divine force and source that in itself is immeasurable and unlimited. All right. So last but not least, oh, look at that. As above, for the final messages, we got the Ace of Pentacles, which is a divine gift, opportunity. It's the expression of your value in the most expansive magnitude it can possibly exist, like everything that you could consider yourself to be or acquire on account of that being before the doing even happens is reflective from the most supreme source that you submit to. This is like source giving you the ordinance, the resources based on how worthy you've been deemed to be, like you being an internal match for this great gift that's coming your way, because you've ultimately allowed yourself to be one with the universal flow, to offer yourself in a space of surrender to spirit, and have ultimately attracted this wealth to you. This is, again, an infinite seed, invaluable, just like the Ace of Wands. It comes from a spiritual space. It can't be contained. It can't be claimed otherwise by any other source or force, even as they try to project to be able to do so. It can't be determined, the value of it can't be determined truly by, it can't be appraised by anyone outside of you, just as you can't be. You know, that's the reflectiveness of this pentacle when it comes from, you know, a pure place. All right, and then we got, yeah, and then what that turns into is community, community balance and prosperity. You perhaps being in a position to be that diplomat, for sure, after having, you know, walked the path, consider, you come to the balance of yourself. And you know what, this is also giving me like that nature of balance that I was talking about with this South Node and North Node, where, you know, it's a matter of you collecting yourself holistically more than it is being of service to others, and up front anyway. That you're considering where you may lack, or there may be some opportunity for advancement or expansion, enhancement, really, here in this lower nature of yourself, and also what you have to bring to the table, what truly is of value for you to share otherwise, what's already intact, almost like the North and South Node itself. Consider that. That's pretty interesting, right? And what would the 1 and the 6 is the 7 of Pentacles? Yes, that's investments. So it's about making wise investments, as I've said, in yourself at this time. This is the as above nature that you get to aspire to. That just as much as you may want to, you know, if you're anything like me, especially with Libra energy, we're always thinking about everybody else, or how we can create harmony and balance in some way. As I said, even sometimes when we're not even holistically equipped to do so, meaning we don't even have all the resources to perhaps even be balanced ourselves before we want to go give into someone else. This is about making that investment in self, that you have divine permission to allow yourself to be invested in, and to invest in yourself, so that you can create you can be the ultimate benevolence in whatever community or surrounding, or, you know, whatever consciousness you serve creatively. You'll have the collection of yourself holistically, so that you can be giving from a filled space and not a depleted one, if that makes sense. So for instance, as we're powering ahead, literally the Ace of Wands is not here for no reason. That means there still may be this incitement, and the King of Wands, to want to do something, to want to move forward, to want to complete that project, because you see the great value that it has to offer. You see how many people it can serve or help, or how many would love your product and love your service and love your expression of creativity in whatever way it gets to be. Cultivate that completely, so that you can give them the full product, you know, the best product of you that is available. Not like, you know, the bargain deal, literally, with the 6 of Pentacles. Not the bargain brand of you, but the premium product of you, if that makes sense. And that's absolutely in alignment with this Ace of Pentacles. And the only way that you get to do that is really investing, maybe perhaps even in that research and development phase, or in that more so the development phase than the research. But hey, maybe there's still some things that you're getting to learn through this transit as well. Investing in yourself, so that you have all your grounds covered, that when you step out into the world to be that diplomat, to be of service to mankind in whatever way you want to be, you will do so having already grounded yourself in who you are, so that you don't get jaded by any South Node energies internally or externally. That you don't get out there and start feeling like, oh, I gotta adjust my product, I'm not enough of this or enough of that, or I don't do this well enough, or I don't have enough education, or my talent is not quite as good as theirs, or my product is not as good as that company's, or all these things that we can become bombarded by, just on account that we didn't allow ourselves to fully develop and allowing spirit to develop and invest in us in the ways that can truly like finish our, finish the manufacturing process, for lack of any more puns. All right, so that's as above, the top and bottom. Let's see what we got here. Whoa, we're definitely getting away from conflict, confusion, jealousy by way of these energies that, again, that we submit ourselves to, that whether they do or don't have any true value, any intentions of well-being in our lives, they present to you some dis-ease or unease about your progression. So going back to the Queen of Cups, these Three of Cups here may not be holistically bad or diabolical, but if there's a disruption in her sobriety and in her energy and in her love vibration, even within herself, like say she gets around these girls and she all of a sudden feels insecure or feels like that they kind of like make fun of who she is and how she operates. Because I said the Queen of Cups can look a bit strange sometimes, peering into that cup, even the cup looks strange. She stands out in a sense. And sometimes people with like psychic capabilities and spiritual intuition can be outcasted as weird amongst those that are more conventional in their creativity. It's no disrespect or love lost to them, but if you're feeling at odds with yourself on account of who, what, and where you're submitting your energy, then the responsibility and accountability is on you to make a change. Is again, no love lost to anyone else, but you almost have to see it as a conflict worthy of protection, even if it doesn't at face value present itself to be that. Now, this absolutely does. The Five of Swords is somebody that's very intentionally looking to cause confusion, chaos, some infraction to even your mental stability, a blockage, a burden in some way, trying to win at all costs, as we say with the Five of Swords, that ultimately would resort to any type of tactic in order to advance himself is the energy here. And you definitely want to stay away from characters like that are even like that within their own being, that are constantly in conflict with themselves, because that's what it ultimately is. It projects itself from the outside in, but ultimately people that operate in this vibration are at odds with their own spirit. They don't feel confirmed and affirmed as who they are naturally, so they're always looking to project their conflict onto others and ultimately exchange it for some vitality, or it's like an exchange for, somebody that can get over on others. It's like an exchange for some vitality of power to them. It's false, it's inorganic, but it fuels his nature to feel like he won something, when in all actuality, there is no competition here. So be mindful of being around people that are always looking to compete with you, that are looking to, that somehow there seems to be a resistance and support is definitely an indication of some level of competition or opposition in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, even if it seems harmless in some regard, if that's the undertone, meaning someone that may be jealous or just not settled in their own personal identity, envious of what you have, wanting your life to be their life, or whatever the case may be, we know the vibes, we know what they are. Stay clear. That's definitely a South Node energy. You don't have no time or energy to spare for anybody that's operating on that level. Yeah, and take definite action against sticking around for those type of energies. But also with this being this is people that are on power trips, that are always in competition for power. Like I said, there's no competition. Ace of Wands to me is a different Ace of Wands to you. and a different Ace of Wands to anyone that you come in contact to. This wand is unique to the beholder of it. You know, it's been destined and ordained, divined, distributed, designated to someone very specifically, and each one has its own power. But for those that aren't willing, like I said, to really, first of all, perceive of that personal power and conceive it internally, they can be a great danger to yours. And that's what this is here. You know, this is an infraction on your power on account of subjecting yourselves to those that are looking to be in competition with it, or worse, looking to destroy it in some way, shape, or form. So, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? We definitely don't want to be around nobody that's trying to destroy our personal power, that's trying to make you feel like, and where they fall under, but that Three of Cups again, you know, the gang's all here. You know, like going along to get along, ultimately for the sake of just wanting to not miss out or be a part, or, you know, whatever the so-called benefits may be of being a part of certain organizations or friend groups, or even connected to some support of family. If it's not in the vibration of authentic support, you know, pure support and love, people that are just as excited about what you're doing, even if they don't completely understand it or know every in and out about it, but they're excited because you're excited about what you do. And I heard that beep, that is a confirmation. Those are the type of energies you want to surround yourself by, not people that always want to, you know, want to one-up you, or it's like I said, it's just always a power struggle, and you're not even struggling. You just, if anything, you're doing all that you can do to maintain a focus and fortitude with what you feel called to, how you feel called to operate and how to take action. That's your focus in the higher vibration, in the south node of destiny. Someone in the north node, in the north node of destiny, somebody in the south node of destiny is just looking to see what power they can take from others to add value to their own, of which they've already diminished themselves. Stay very clear, and like I said, those energies look like jealousy. They look like unnecessary competition. Be mindful of how you share your ideas with other people. Another beep. Be mindful of announcing your every move, you know, broadcasting your every move and your inspiration too freely. Unfortunately, in one regard, yes, you do get to be open to support and help that is divine to you, that has proven itself to be of value. But just because there's been time and even social or emotional attachment doesn't mean that it's a source that's proven itself to be in support. Some of the people closest to you are the ones that can be, you know, have the darkest evil eye against you, unfortunately so. But we know it's true. It's not even nothing magical that I'm saying. So look out for the signs, discern how you feel around people, you know, beep again. Discern how people are making you feel, people, places, and things, and take accountability for your own actions and authority over your surroundings, and be unapologetic about it. Again, this disparity in the north and the south node is knowing when you're being too nice, too diplomatic, too liberal, too fair. Sometimes favor ain't fair as it's said, and sometimes those that have a specific calling or destiny have to take very specific actions and proactions to protect it. And that's one thing that you can't feel guilty or ashamed to do. If it don't feel right, then you take the next necessary precautions to secure yourself to stability. You know, secure your stability for security, ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. And nothing else really matters beyond that. As long as it's justified, you're doing it in peace in faith and not in fear, you will have the support of the supreme source that you submit to and co-create with to do so. And everything else will have to bow down accordingly. You are the authoritative force. You are the warrior. You know, this is, you know, your show ultimately. And everyone else, more or less, is a supporting cast, quite honestly. And that's the truth for all of us. You know, it just is what it is. You are the star. So if it ain't going well for you, the whole production is going to go to shit, ultimately. All right, so there it is again. You know, like I said, knowing the difference between when there's a time for war and there's a time for peace, and finding that balance in your life is key throughout this transit and perhaps throughout eternity, right? At this point, the way things are going, you just kind of got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, you know, and when to flip the whole table over if need be. All right, so anyway, I hope you got something positive out of that. Again, I'm going to, at this point, it doesn't matter me saying this, but it is time stamped, because if you've already made it here, then you were here for the long haul, and I appreciate you tremendously. Have a wonderful full moon in Aries. Stay grounded, stay patient, stay positive, and you'll be good. You are good. You're already good. All right. So in the meantime, I'll see you again. You know, I'll see you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I'll see you tomorrow. So in the meantime, I'll leave you with peace.